It's a new year, so that means we have a new patch naming convention. Patch 13.3 is going to be a medium-sized patch with a bunch of changes to the top tier comps. So like the changes are very focused. Let's start off with some quality of life because we all try to get that in our new year resolutions. The opening encounter duration has been lowered to ensure that you can get in and start low rolling even faster. If there are 5 million TFT games played every single patch, the entire world will save 60 days for every second reduced in the opening carousel encounter. My next target for that, for increased human output, would be reducing the anomaly round maybe by 5 seconds. That'll add a whole year to human lifespan, but there might even be more games played. For the carousel, the stage 3 carousel now always has at least one of each component unless the carousel contains spatulas. This is just in case you're super loose streaking, you'll get the item you want. Overall, I'd say pretty good. It's gonna buff loose streaking a little bit. Large changes, large like our appreciation for players during the extra long patch of last year. Artillerist attacks are gonna be reduced from 4 to 3. That's only for 6 artillerists though. I haven't seen that too many times. Automata is going to get some changes too. It's going to get the tankiness nerfed at 4 and 6 and then get the damage buffed a little bit at 6. So overall, that's a pretty big nerf. 40 armor and MR is definitely worth more than 100 damage on the proc. So that's going to be a sizable hit to Nocturne, considering that I have heard some rumors that they are disabling some augments, which should hurt it even more. Chem Baron cash out, 400 cash out value reduced by 8%. Gold value lowered from 70 gold to 65 gold. Chem Baron 500 cash out, value reduced by 15%, gold value lowered from 105 to 90 gold. This should be pretty big considering they're also nerfing a bunch of the perfect items, so it's not auto win anymore at 500 cash out. Maybe like 600's auto win still, but 500, like, it was pretty strong. Same with 400, but they're nerfing that. So I think all the perfect items are being nerfed except for one of them. Oh boy, let's guess which one it's going to be. We could just type perfect over here. Was Flesh Ripper the only one not touched? Nope, it was not touched. Okay, which makes sense because it was the worst one. But after the Chem Baron item changes, we have the scrap shield duration 20 seconds to 24 seconds and 9-piece shield per component 60 to 65. I thought scrap was fine. It's just that the other Corki builds are a bit better, so buffing it a tiny bit, probably good. Like, I really only played 6 scrap with an emblem, and that's only if I got it early. Sorcerer AP is going to be buffed up at 4, 6, and 8 Sorc. Should be much more worth it to go now. 1 cost units, putting the POW in Powder. Powder's ability fall off is being buffed at 1 and 2 star. I thought 3-star Powder was already really good, but they probably want more people to build around Powder as a main rather than as a secondary. Singed ability damage reduction is going to be dropped at all levels, so that should be a sizable Singe nerf. Steb mana buff, so that should make Combat Medic Steb maybe a lot better. That's a pretty sizable mana buff there. You're for sure going to get a lot more cast. And also, outside of that Combat Medic comp, if you play Steb in the early game with 2 bruisers, sometimes I notice he wouldn't cast as a 1-star, but maybe now he will, and he'll get that extra heal out, and you'll win a lot more rounds that way if you play him. Trundle mana buff by 10. Zyra primary ability damage is going to be increased by a lot at 1, 2, and 3-star. I've gotten Zyra 3-star, I think twice from Build-A-Bud, and I hated it every single time. It makes me not want to click Build-A-Bud, but I love clicking Build-A-Bud. But getting Zyra on the previous patch felt pretty bad. Maybe it's a bit better now. 2 cost units, Camille ability damage is going to be buffed up at 1, 2, and 3-star, though I will say the 3-star one is only very slight. I don't think this will make Camille meta without other changes to ambushers, but it looks like they buffed Powder, so maybe they are going all in on ambushers. Leona mana is going to be dropped by a bunch. Renata Glass ability shield is going to be nerfed at 3-star and 2-star, but mainly at 3-star. Zeri AD buffed up a little bit. I actually think Zeri is like a very underrated champion. Not that she was like super strong last patch or anything, but I think she definitely was playable, and I think we might see some Watcher sniper comps come out in the future from this. Ziggs splash bomb damage is going to be nerfed at all levels. Yeah, Ziggs was OP. We talked about that a lot in my 3-hour Dominator video if you have not checked that out yet. I think Dominator still should be good. They just won't stabilize as hard. Where I put a lot more of the value was in like the red buff or Morello on Ziggs. Not so much like the damage builds. But onto the 3 costs, we have Cassiopeia, 0.7 to 0.75 attack speed. Nice. Mana nerf, so you lose 10 mana, but with more attack speed, she should be able to scale a bit better. It's just her first cast is a bit nerfed, but who really cares about that? Gangplank melee ability heal is going to be buffed up, and his melee AD percent is also going to be buffed up. So I think Gangplank's already a very solid unit, but in the backline, I'm hoping to see some frontline Gangplank builds. Maybe we actually have to flex between him. I want him to be like a good Thieves Gloves holder, but normally I just chuck him in the back and call it a day. Loris ability shield is going to be buffed up across the board. Smeech mana buff, nerfed by 10. Twisted Fate yellow card is going to be buffed up a tiny bit, and the red buff is going to be buffed up as well. So Twisted Fate 3-star I hope is viable, because I played it a couple times because I got it for free and it felt awful, but maybe a build is there cooking somewhere. Smeech should be decent. They are saying it's Smeech in time over there, but I would like to see maybe the Camille Smeech build is kind of back, because they buffed both those units and Powder, and they're buffing Echo. Holy cow. Okay, so they're buffing ambushers across the board. Echo mana 060 to 050, definitely huge. They're saying making the Omnivamp items, you should be slamming on him even better, so we'll focus on that. Maybe like double Hodge jeweled gauntlet type of build. Elise range spell damage is going to be buffed up at 1, 2, and 3-star, so they want to see more backline Elise. That should be fun. Maybe like a 4 form swapper Elise build would be pretty good. Twitch mana buff 0 out of 60 to 0 out of 40. This seems bigger than it is, because normally mana buffs are absolutely huge. But since Twitch gets mana locked when he gets his cast off, it's still definitely a buff, don't get me wrong, but it's not as big as, let's say, like Steb's mana buff, because he just casts and then he keeps stacking mana again. So like if Steb went from 60 to 40 mana, it'd be much bigger of a buff. But Twitch, it's still a very welcome buff. Twitch should be definitely playable now. He was like on the cusp before, but definitely the worst 4 cost in the last patch, but this should make him good. 5 cost units, Jace Hextech Forge no longer triggers its effect automatically when revived. Will only trigger its effect if it is alive when Jace casts a spell. I thought it was supposed to be like that. I guess it was a bug. That's at least what the tooltip used to say. Jace melee ability AD is going to be buffed up across the board. Ability secondary also going to be buffed up. Melee Jace, I normally play him as a tank. Like if I have damage items or like frontline bruiser items, I would put it on him. But if I have like pure damage items, I'd definitely put him in backline. So hopefully this should give us more options for all the form swappers that we saw change. LeBlanc attack speed being buffed. Does LeBlanc really need buffs? We're giving some love to 5 costs that are less appealing or recently indirectly nerfed. I thought LeBlanc was chilling, but I guess not. Malzahar ability wave damage is going to be buffed up at 1 and 2-star. Damage per tick also buffed up as well. That's to compensate for the automata nerfs. Now for the 6 cost. Wait, Victor isn't there? Well, Victor certainly has enjoyed his time as the most glorious of all the 6 costs. It's time for Warwick and Mel to compete for the title. Okay, so they're keeping Victor. This 6 costs are just even more OP then. Like, I don't like that. I feel like tone down Victor a tiny bit. I don't even know how you do that. But they're just saying, no, screw it. We're going to make 6 costs great always. They're never bad. And now Mel is just even better. Buffed at 1 and 2-star, both by decent amounts. Warwick experiment bonus stun duration 1 second to 1.5. That's huge. Blood Hunter heal 400 to 500. Blood Frenzy AD percent also going to be buffed up. Not as big though. So they want to make Warwick best in the experiment comp, it seems. I don't like that, because if you are just playing experiment and you randomly hit a Warwick, don't you just like win if he's too strong in that case? I'm thinking you want to keep Warwick's identity as like the 6 cost you want to itemize, but maybe have him played in more comps, because like I think the Mel buffs definitely make a lot more sense than this. The real question is, are these two better than Victor? Are they equal to Victor, or are they still worse than Victor? I gotta put my money on worse than Victor still. I mean, Victor just CCs the entire board at a reasonable time, but time will tell. Mel definitely is not a slouch even before these buffs. But now onto the augments. Blade Dance Aurelia gonna be buffed up. Demify HP per stage, gonna get a 750 health buff. That's pretty big, but it already has so much health, does it really matter? Glass Cannon 1 starting HP 80% to 90%. Of course it does matter. That's like a... this is almost like a Warmog's worth of health. Kingslayer Gold on win from behind being buffed from 4 to 5. Lone Hero has been disabled. Survivor Gold granted 60 to 70. Team Building turn delay 7 to 5. That's a huge buff for reroll comps then. Holy cow. I think maybe they should have a Team Building 1 and Team Building Plus. The Team Building regular would show up on stage 2-1. The Team Building Plus, which would be this one, would show up on 3-2. I think that would make a bit more sense. Trolling Trundle, AS granted 140 to 160. Another anomaly, item base stats. It's going to be buffed up by a bunch. Arcane Retribution Sorcerer has been disabled. Cloning Facility 70 to 80. Cloning Facility clone mana increase 20% to 10%, so a bunch of buffs there. Contested has been disabled. Crimson Pact Vladimir mana per auto 3 to 5. Family Crest no longer grants a violet. Forward Thinking 70 to 80. Glass Cannon starting HP 80% to 90%. That's nice. You're less reliant on Hextech Gunblade than on your backline. Golemify HP per stage 150 to 500. Moonlight AP and AD bonus 25 to 35%. One for all 2 damage amp 2.5 to 2%. Overheal bonus damage 115 to 125. I don't really like Overheal, but I mean, I guess there is some room for it. Paint the Town Blue Rebels cloned is being changed from 5 to 4. Superstars 2 damage increase per 3-star 5 to 4%. So they're nerfing like all the 1-cost augments, it seems. Too much value 2 cost granted 2 to 4. Warpath 1-star 5 cost guaranteed. Warpath 1-star 5 cost granted is being changed from 4 to 3. Completed anvils 1 to 2. So that is a buff, I think, right? Like, I think I'd rather have a anvil than like random 5 costs. It's a bit more flexible in my opinion because these are random. An Exalted Adventure Lesser Champion Duplicators now and at the start of every stage is being changed from at the start of the next 3 stages. So that's a nerf. Anger Issues AD and AP per stack being changed from 1 to 1.5. Anger Issues Armor and MR per item 45 to 50. Artifactory has been disabled. Belt Overflow bonus HP per belt 75 to 90. By the way, this Artifactory thing was the thing I was talking about with Nocturne. Like, there are going to be a lot fewer combos of artifact items now, which like definitely hurt Kog'Maw as well. So like all the Autonoma comps get bigly hurt after these changes. Bronze for Life 2 durability per trait 1.5 to 1%. Yeah, Bronze for Life was pretty OP. Might need to be nerfed a bit more, I think, but this is like a pretty sizable nerf. It also gives damage amp. I'm not sure which stat was actually more important that you got from Bronze for Life. Build-A-Bud gold granted 8 to 10. Calculated enhancements being buffed up by 5%. AD 10% AP. Dark Alley dealings has been disabled. That hurts the family comps. Expected unexpectedness stage 2 low rolls 7 rerolls to 10 rerolls. Mid roll for stage 3 is going to be upped by 1 4 cost, and then for stage 4 mid roll upped by 1 5 cost. This is a pretty fun augment to take if you have not already. Just make sure you play a bit flexibly. Family Crown no longer grants a Violet and Evander. Flurry of Blows bonus crit chance 35 to 45%. Ghosts of Units Pass HP per stack 5 to 6. Ghosts of Units Pass AD per stack 0.8 to 1%. Subscription service gold granted up by 2. By the way, this is a very good beginner augment, so if you're like below Emerald or something like that, like this is a very strong augment to take. Sword Overflow attack speed per sword 2.5 to 3%. Trait Geniuses Echo Clone damage being buffed up by holy cow, that's a lot, right? It goes from like a third of a cast to like half a cast. Void Swarm turn delay 11 to 10. Wand Overflow attack speed per rod up by 1.5. This one is my least favorite like item augment from the Prismatics. Like the other one gives like I think a bunch of swords and a bunch of belts. But a lot of the AP traits they give AP anyway, so you don't really want this that much because then you're overstacked on AP. Items, some items could be a bit harder. Deathblade damage amp up 2%. Even Shroud bonus armor and MR duration 10 seconds to 15 seconds. A lot of people don't know this, but Even Shroud, it gives you like a small buff at the beginning of the fight, and they're increasing that duration now. Ionic Spark 100 to 150 health. Runon's Hurricane Bolt damage 55 to 60%. They really want Twitch to be played. Like they buffed 3 of his items, like Deathblade, Runon's, and then you could put Even Shroud on like your front line. So Twitch definitely back in, I think, right? Artifacts, Fishbone being nerfed, both AD and AS. Gambler's Blade being nerfed. Rapid Fire Cannon AS is also being nerfed. So, man, Nocturne might be killed then. Silvermere Dawn nerfed. Suspicious Trenchcoat Break Apart point 50% to 66. Trenchcoat Clone HP 30 to 25%. The Collector AD 30% to 25%. What I'm wondering is, why did they remove all the artifact augments if they are also nerfing them? I feel like we probably could have just nerfed them, right? I don't know. I know Mortdog said like he doesn't want the combos out there, that's why they're doing it. But the combos were kind of fun, you know? Maybe we could reduce the chance of Prismatics popping up and then people would have the combo less too. I think there are multiple ways to kind of go at it. Buffing the worst performing and least picked anomalies while bringing down our 2 best. Arcana Overwhelming, I don't think I've ever taken this. Magic Resistance granted 65 to 80. Percent of MR converted to AP 25 to 30%. Avalanche of Armor, this is pretty much the same thing, but for armor. buffed up as well. Berserker Rage HP threshold 50 to 70. Center of the Universe star damage 75 to 85. Energy absorption AP gain on ally death 5% to 8%. Defense Expert armor and MR gain 66 to 75%. Laser Eyes AP damage 100 to 133. Mini-Me's proc every 3 attacks is being changed to 2 attacks. Whoa, that's a lot, right? I've taken this once. It looks funny. I don't know if it's good, but like I just took it because I had a attack damage champ. Nothing wasted, mana gain 70% to 50%. Isn't it crazy how this used to be 100%? Now it's going to be 50%. That's a huge nerf, right? Repulsor 35% to 40%. It just goes to show how strong it was before. Slime Time AP ratio 130 to 160. Ultimate Hero turns to upgrade 3 to 4. Wolf Familiars AD percent 50% to 65%. Now onto the small changes. Oh, just a very small section. Small like the voice telling me to save my Shimmer at sub 30 HP. Clarified hex positioning for Find Your Center and Cloning Facility. Clarified birthday presents tooltip to state that it can grant champions up to 5 costs. And then now we have bug fixes. Oh, very few. Fix a typo and several outcomes from Wind Up Monkey. Scavenger can no longer mistakenly grant Radiant. Wow, I did not know it could do that. Fix the final edge case that could allow hard commit to give an emblem for a trait without units for the required costs. Vander encounter will now properly appear at the correct rates. Unbound Warwick pedestal now properly as VFX when disappearing. Noodling around Chibi Akali noodles have been reverted to the correct color of noodles. So big change. I think the comps that got hit the most is definitely going to be the Nocturne comp. They don't actually have a summary image up here, but if we look at the tier list, like Chem Baron nerfed a bunch, right? Like Dominator, only Ziggs got touched. Mbessa, Emissary, Corki, not touched. Heimerdinger, not really touched. But Nocturne, huge hits there. Renata, decent hits there. Rebel, not touched. Kog'Maw hit hard because of Artifactory being removed. Family got nerfed a bunch. So a lot of the weird comps got buffed, but a lot of the regular comps, like the 4-cost comps, stayed the same. That's the pattern I'm noticing at least. Ambushers definitely should be bumped up a bunch. I don't know if they're going to be good. I think it's going to be built around Echo, actually. Like maybe we're just going to play around Echo, use Camille, Smeech, Powder to just like build up towards Echo. I think that's actually the most fun way to play Ambushers, and I hope that's actually the way they end up being played. Twitch, definitely going to see a lot more action. I feel like Twitch, it might be S tier. I don't want to call it too early, right? But I will be coming out with a meta snapshot on Friday. By the way, this patch comes out on Thursday. It is delayed like one day. Normally they come out on Wednesday, but I'm excited to try some of the Ambusher builds. Twitch, definitely back. Like a lot of things changed about him. Like they buffed some of his items also. But overall, like I think they hit the Nocturne Automata comps a little too hard. Mainly because they just removed a lot of the ways to even get the items that are good on them. And they're really only good in those scenarios. Like maybe they should have buffed them up a little bit, just like the units. Because they were mainly dependent on getting like the +1 range on the Nocturne, right? So I think Nocturne's going to get Camille'd this patch, where we're probably not going to play him, but I hope I am wrong, you know? So if you want to be part of my coaching review video, submit your VODs on the new patch as soon as it comes out. It comes out on Thursday, and I'll be recording on Friday. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of all the changes, and I'll see you all on Friday for the meta snapshot.